Hey YouTube, what's up? It's Alex here with the Vacuum Guy, and today I have for you a motor analysis video. And basically what I'm saying by that is if you plug your vacuum in and your motor's not working, then or it just makes a electrical humming or buzzing noise, don't throw it away just yet. And that's exactly what happened here on this Hoover Convertible. And I actually went in this before, find out what's wrong. Motor's completely toast. Don't know what the hell happened there, but oh well, have to get a new one. Even though I have my professional service over there, but oh well. Still nice to have a working vintage Hoover. Now, first step you want to do is, I already took the screws off for the hood, but there's a hole right there and a hole right there. And it's a Phillips head screw, so you want to get your Phillips head screwdriver and loosen all the screws all the way out. And then, once they're out, hold the hood like that and flip it over. And you actually want to lower the handle all the way down. And then voila, the hood pops off. And then, here's your motor. What you want to start by doing is, well, once you have your hood off, go underneath of your vacuum. Well, I'm just using the Hoover Convertible, since it's a perfect example. Take your belt off. And stick the brush roller too, whatever. Set that crap over there. Flip your Hoover, or your vacuum, back over. Take your Phillips head screw, and there are 4 Phillips head screws holding this on. One right there, one right there, one right there, and one right there. You want to remove those 4 screws. One. 2. That one came out. And always keep your screws in a secure location. And what I like to do is take the hood and flip it over and just throw the screws in there, so that way you know where they are. Just make sure you know which ones go to which part of the vacuum, so that way you're not putting the wrong screws in. I'm using my Samsung Galaxy for this. Let's turn the overhead light on here, see if that's any better. Yeah, a little bit. I have the blinds completely open. And then, if your vacuum has never been rebuilt or have the motor taken out, it'll stick. Just get yourself a flathead screwdriver. What I do is put it in that little groove right there and pry it up. But since I took this off before, the motor should just come right out. And here are the hood screws. Trying to find my flathead here. Loose parts. No, here. This one will do. It's not the one I like or prefer, but it'll do. You want to sit there. Actually, you know what? No, I just remembered that actually won't work. I use a pair of pliers and a nickel to get that off, since I don't have a flathead wide enough. And what you want to do is you want to hold the fan and turn, hold the fan and turn it to the right like this, the way it's going. Turn it to the right like that. Alright, so let me go do that real quick and see if this flathead will work. Use my foot here. See? And what might happen is you keep on turning it, and it'll spin. It'll keep on spinning the armature. And sometimes you can get lucky and just twist it right off like I did, or get yourself a flathead, like another flathead or something, and stick it, or a Phillips head if it'll fit. Stick it right there inside the cooling fan vent and lock the cooling fan, which also locks the armature. But be careful not to damage the cooling fan and/or strip the threads. Be careful not to do that, otherwise you're gonna get screwed. And see, everything's just coming apart because I had this apart before. Make sure you don't lose the washers. You should have one large fiber washer like sits on top of the underneath the belt pulley like that. Then you have this little metal washer that sits underneath the fan right there on that post to keep the fan up, so it won't scrape up against the housing. Just throw everything in the hood, and then flip your motor back over, and you want to take out these 3 screws right here for the top bearing cap with your flathead. Get this unstuck from the belt pulley if it ever. Hang on, this thing's twisted on there. Got it. Yeah, it was stuck on there. Sorry about that. I had to set the phone down real quick. And it's kind of hard to wrongly mistake all these screws for this motor. It's kind of hard to. And be careful with these screwdrivers, because you might like have them slip and you could actually puncture your skin and whatnot. Trust me, it hurts. See, like that, it just slipped. Or you could damage the motor plastic. Alright, and then your top bearing cap should just lift right off. Yeah, I need a new one of these. It's all dried out. I tried oiling it. Yeah, even though it says do not oil on it. Whatever. Tried to save it. And then here you have your cooling fan exposed. What you want to do is you want to hold the armature from the bottom like that, and then twist the cooling fan off the same way you twist the belt, the belt pulley off, clockwise. It's not a reverse counterclockwise thread like it normally is. It's a clockwise thread. So just remember that. Let me do that real quick. Having a pair of pliers right now would really help. Found a pair. Actually, I would retract that statement. It's actually a standard counterclockwise thread. My bad. And it should just spin off like that after you lock the armature with your pliers. And then you have your commutator and brushes exposed. Oh, and you might want to take out the headlight bulb just in case. Standard little 11 or 12 watt. Then you want to take your flathead, and there's these carbon brush caps right here with the little flathead screw. See if I can get it in there. Right there. See that? Sorry if that's kind of at a weird angle right now. I'm kind of leaning around the Hoover convertible, or convertible. And then there's one more on this side with a screw. Right there. Kind of hard to see. Oops, sorry about that. I had the camera had the motor out of frame. Gathering a nice collection of parts here. Getting grease all over my fingers. Whoop-de-doo. Then inside, right here, you see there's these little push tabs right there. You want to take your flathead and push that tab down. See if I can get it in frame here while doing it. Push it down while pulling it out. It's kind of hard to do one-handed. So. And that's what supplies the electrical current to your carbon brushes. Trying to get the motor. Use my foot there. See, and then the carbon brush is popping right up, right there. And that one's like, it's basically gone. Need a new one of those. And do the same process for this side. Push the tab in and pull it out. it'll want to come out. There we are. Bam, right there. See, it's just kind of flopping out right there. Yeah, and make sure these things don't get dirty. See, there's a whole bunch of grit and crap in the fan chamber. Alright, and now you have that out. Your armature should have spin completely free. Yeah, it should have spin completely free and effortlessly. Now what you want to do is take a hammer and pound this out of the lower bearing. Or if you have a basement, just sit there and go on the concrete floor and hold it right here and bang it really hard. Give it a good few really hard smacks on the concrete to get that out of the bearing, the armature shaft. If I can even find the God blessed hammer. I'll be right back to go find it real quick. Alright, it's now in the living room, oddly enough. It's where I remember last having it. I really need to keep better track of these tools of mine. I swear, sometimes I drive myself crazy here. Found it. It's in the closet. And I found my good flathead too. What I like to do is to just keep it in the base and put the top armature shaft in the fan hole down there. Sit there. Right there. See, and that won't come off because I haven't taken off this top plate right here. See? Getting too ahead of myself. Yeah, and these are all flatheads except for this one. You know, oh well. And do not worry about that screw, that just holds down the headlight. So in theory there should be a screw there. Oh, there's a screw there, and a screw there. It's my wide bladed flathead. I actually put a lot of torque into these screws because I don't know, it's plastic threads, and sometimes they become loose over time and I just don't want them coming loose. Bam, that whole top assembly comes right off. You can just pick the armature up and out like that. And all you left was your one field coil, a rusty, I don't know, I guess that's a field coil too, but that's the windings that green part right there sits in. Creates a negative and positive or south and north charge which spins this. Seeing how that's like dark? That's fine. But you see like how it has those like light marks is in between the dark marks, almost like scorching? Yeah, that's probably from running bad carbon brushes in it. See? One's fine. And then one is gone. It's because this motor, I guess, was leaning to one side. Don't ask me. So, everything else on this armature looks perfectly fine. The windings and everything look perfectly fine. But this commutator, it's toast. Whee! Whoops. Sorry. Oh. And then there's nothing much you can do about these, because these are actually riveted into the plastic base itself. That's really nothing you can do. But since you're in there, clean up the bearing, the ball bearing. That's a ball bearing down there. You can kind of see it. Take a flathead screwdriver down in there and just kind of get away at the dirt. A whole bunch of dirt and crap caked inside on the top seal. Yeah, sure, swipe it off on my carpet. It'll get vacuumed later. It's kind of blowing there. There, it's all clean for the most part. And that bearing assembly is actually riveted into there too. See, rivets on the bottom. This bearing is nice and oiled and smooth. So, and if your motor makes that electrical buzzing or humming noise, don't actually be alarmed. It's, well, actually, you should or shouldn't, just depending. If you take apart your motor, well, the carbon brushes first, and it's both of them, or yeah, I guess you could say one or both of them are worn down like that. It's probably your carbon brushes that are causing your motor not to run properly. And if they look like that, it should be fine. Should be. I don't think you'd have a problem with them. These are fairly hard carbon brushes. I mean, they're soft, but they're hard. Not as hard as the sanitary style carbon brushes. Those things are freaking, it'll last you. But yeah, like what to check for. It's like, don't know if you can see that, but like, you see the copper underneath there, underneath all the carbon brush residue. So you see it's just rubbing off on my thumb there. This basically means your commutator has been scorched. It's been ran with bad carbon brushes or some oil or whatnot. I don't know. Because normally if oil gets into the commutator and carbon brushes, it'll make a burn smell, but don't be alarmed because it'll eventually burn off, providing you don't have a fire or your motor starts smoking and it causes a fire is what I meant to say. But 9 times out of 10, the oil on here or grease, don't be worried. It may make a horrible smell, but just keep on running it with your bag off and put it in like out in your garage or something where the noise won't be an issue. And just keep on running it and running it and running it, and eventually it'll burn this grease right off of here and get it back to normal. So it's basically what you want to look for on your commutator, is it being like that. Scorching. And belt pulley. And honestly, that armature came out a lot easier than I thought it would be. I just gave it a few pretty hard whacks like that, and it just came right out. Oh yeah, so I always use rubber mallets because they're forceful yet gentle, if that makes any sense. I mean, like, I could easily put a hole right through this base right now if I really wanted to. Just give it a good hard whack. But at the same time, it's being gentle about it. It's not like a steel head hammer that you could basically, like, just put a hole through anything with. This is more gentle. I mean, it's forceful yet gentle, if that makes any sense. I prefer to use those over actual hammers 9 times out of 10, unless it's really stuck in there. Then I'll take like a 5-pound hammer to sit there and whack it as hard as I can. And to reassemble the motor, you just drop the bottom piece of the armature right inside the lower bearing. Just kind of pound it, tap it back down, if it'll ever want to go in. Trying to line this base back up, the base of the motor into the base, that way it's kind of like a guide, if that makes any sense. Oh, I'm putting it in wrong, I'm a genius. There we are. You see, I had to pound it down in there. See, watch. Screw it, you just kind of fell in there. And then to put it back in, long side goes down in the bearing. See, and it won't sit all the way properly, so you just give it a good whack, and then turn it. It's in there, and the scraping you hear is because the armature is allowed to wiggle because it's not inside the top bearing cap, which keeps it straight. See, if I just barely turn it, it stays nice and true, but if I like really crank on it, it just, maybe, I don't know. And then you want to put your top bearing cap, or not bearing cap, the top half of the motor assembly back on. And you have to get the wires in the grooves and properly align them. If you have that. Otherwise, you just it's kind of hard to do one-handed. Times like this call for a cameraman or a camera assistant or like a tripod. Actually, it comes out the front. And then turn your motor around and go around it. Make sure that all the wires are coming out where they're actually supposed to. And that nothing's actually getting pinched down in there. Because that would be pretty bad. There, and that's back on. Take one of your flathead screws, drop it down in there. Wrong screwdriver, I'm special. And turn it to the point where it's hand tight, if you know what I mean. Not too tight, hand tight. Get that screwdriver out of there. Well, for me, it should be one more screw at least. Actually, no, there's two screws, so I'm going to put one in back there, so it's like, if that makes any sense, so it's kind of even pressure on both sides. Because I kind of took two of these flathead screws and used it to hold on the bag collar on my sanitaire back there, so, because I couldn't find the actual bag collar mounting screws, and these screws work perfectly, so go figure. And plus this motor is dead anyway, so it's like, why does it even bother? Alright. You want to put your cooling fan back on. It goes face down. I need to hold on to both of these at the same time while I thread this back on. And for the cooling fan, it's lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. And the threads on this cooling fan, maybe not. I was going to say maybe they're stripped out, but I just didn't turn it far enough. Seeing the cooling fan's on now. Sorry, my phone camera kind of spazzed there for a second. And then take your top bearing cap. Give it a few good whacks. Take your other smaller or shorter flathead screws, and those hold the bearing cap on to the top half of the motor assembly. Or the motor casing. Jesus, I cannot speak today. See, kids, that's what school does to you. It messes up your brain from the important stuff you need to know in life. I'm joking. Don't actually believe that. Stupid magnetic head screwdriver's trying to get the outside of the screw instead of the inside where I need it. In a way, I like flathead screws because you can get more torque on them to torque screws and bolts down. But at the same time, flatheads are so much easier to just like get the screwdriver head in there and get it like already torqued down already. With this, you have to kind of fiddle with it. Alright, then note which side your carbon brushes came out of. Very important. The short one came out of this side of the motor. I'm pretty sure, but although this motor is dead, it refuses to run anymore. It's like, who cares? And you push this back in there and hold it in there with like a flathead screwdriver, and then you push this side with the tab facing outwards like that. So that way, if you need to get in there again, you can just push the tab and pull it out. And it goes in a little slot on the side. Right there. So hang on, let me do that real quick. Yeah, use my finger for that one. No homo. And then do the same process for the other side. And it'd be helpful to mark which side was up and which side was down too. So that way you're putting them in exactly as they came back out. Because that actually does matter. Because they broke in one way, and if you change that, then it'll have to reseat the carbon brushes again, and that's going to just wear them up faster. This one actually needs a smaller flathead for it to push it back in. Well, the carbon brush copper tab where the power goes through. And you should get a satisfying click with both of them. And then the caps, they just go on and the wire sits in that groove right there. That one goes to trying to figure out which goes to which. Decisions. Let me see something real quick. I might have put the tabs in backwards or in the reverse the wrong way. Let me see something real quick. I'm sorry that so many blank spaces or shortcuts in this video. Can't really do much as far as editing on your phone for video. Yeah, I did. Had them in wrong. Whoops. Live and learn. But again, I'm putting this back together as if the motor were still being able to run properly and function like it should. There. Now it's able to go over and have the screw hole lined up. Now let me put that screw back in real quick. And you don't gotta put those in too tight. They're not really... Actually, they are serving a purpose, protecting the motor from shorting out somehow. Because it keeps all the metal connector parts safe. I'm trying to do this with... And bam, there we go. That one is in. Then you take this one. Insert it in the screw hole, make sure it goes inside the screw. Then sit there and just start threading it in. Bada bing, bada boom, there we go. The motor itself is back and reassembled. Flip it over. There we go. I have to pull up on the armature. And then it'll spin freely. Oh well. Motor's too far gone. And then you have this little silver washer that slides over and rests. Then the fan. Then your fiber washer. And then your belt pulley. And this goes on like that. Then you hold on and then for this, obviously it looks like I need to lock the armature because it's not wanting to tighten any further. So to lock the armature by putting a screwdriver in the cooling fan, I'll demonstrate that. I'll use this small one, sort of right in there. See? 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 You see how I was turning that? Throw this down. Alright. Probably to strip the cooling fan threads, did I? Yep. Oh, bloody freaking well. This motor was dead anyways. But anyways, you would keep it in there like that, or kind of hanging out like that. And then it'll just lock the armature, or you can put it all the way through like that. Then take your flathead, and obviously since the armature's locked, you don't need to hold the fan. Actually, yeah, you kind of do. Since the cooling fan threads are stripped, you hold the fan. I would normally be wearing a pair of gloves for this, but oh well. Then you'd hold the fan and turn it this way until you can't tighten it no more. And like I said, since the threads are stripped, it's just basically whatever. Oh well. Motors and fan and everything's back and reassembled. Make sure it's all seated and everything's all properly seated in the base. Then just reinstall your motor mounting screws that mount your motor to the base and create a seal. Oh. That one. You can put your handle back up for this too. Actually, no, maybe not. Keep your handle all the way down and just kind of like rest it on your bed, so that way it's like level and firm. put the wire on the outside of that, so that way when it goes down, when I thread the screw in, it won't get pinched. Either way, it doesn't matter. It'll still be on the same side anyways. I'm sorry if the camera's like not being stabilized or anything. One-man band here. Two hands. A motor that requires 2 hands to work on it, with only one hand free and the other hand holding the camera. Oh well. And normally, yeah, this motor wasn't that bad. Because normally by now, in like a really difficult motor, I would be freaking gnashing my teeth and throwing cuss words out left and right. But you know, and normally there's a metal bar that's supposed to go in right there to hold that down like that, but who cares? This thing's getting a new motor anyways. And I guess I'll explain how that hooks up. Alright, motor's firmly implanted in the base. And all the connections, pretty much to the motor. The wire, this white wire, there's a white and yellow wire. This white wire coming from the cord that goes up through the handle and the switch and whatnot goes to this carbon brush right here. And then all the rest of the wires to the rest of the motor all get connected into this one post, or all get connected right here. So you just cap that off with a large wire nut. Just twist all the wires together and cap it off with a wire nut, and then wrap it in electrical tape just to make sure. And that's basically it for you guys. Yep, I oiled that. So, I appreciate all of you guys watching this. Sorry it wasn't the best. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, there's like a lot of times where I set the camera down, but that's because I needed 2 hands to work on this beast, or what was formerly a beast. Oh, it's all rusted and crap. Oh well. I have that to make up for it. So, and by the way, that's not the reason why I bought it. I bought that because I actually wanted a Hoover Professional series for a long time, but just never got around to getting it. I'm going to do some final touches here. Put the light bulb back in its socket. That screw, don't know where it came from. It can go. Put your hood back on. So actually only one way this hood goes on. Saturdays when I was there. And remember guys, only hand tight. Once again, only one way this brush hole can go in. Match the end caps up and just push it down. Belt, pretty self-explanatory. Turn it that way and just pull it up and over the belt pulley. Got 2 hands for this. And bam, it's on. And there you are. That's basically how you take apart a Hoover convertible down to basically everything. Well, at least the motor anyways. And how to inspect it, see if it's shot or not running. But normally, if your commutator has that black carbon brush residue on it, it's fine. It's fine. Just make sure it's not scorched like I show you. So, appreciate all of you guys taking the time to watch this video. So, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing in all of my videos here and before and etc. And have a fantastic day. Bye.